All right, welcome everybody. We'll get started in about 2 or 3 minutes, and I just want to quickly do an audio check. I assume everything is working okay. So let me know if you can see the screen. If during the presentation at all something goes amiss, we lose video or you lose my voice, please let me know. And hopefully the voice is clear today. So hopefully we're in sync. So, all right, so I'm going to put a little music back on and welcome, and we'll get started real soon. All right, welcome everybody to Stock Analysis Friday. All right, so we did an audio check earlier. Everything passed okay, and we did a visual as well. If there's any trouble during the presentation, please let us know, because sometimes we're the last ones to know. Everything looks like it's broadcasting fine, except on your end it may not. So please let us know if there is a problem. All right, so first of all, season's greetings to everybody, all right? Hope everybody's having a wonderful time, and Happy New Year coming up this Monday, or Sunday night, I guess, and have a great one there too, and we'll be back again next week as well. So hope everybody's doing good, and let's go ahead and go through some of our administrational items here, and then go ahead and get started. All right, so first thing I want to go over are, of course, our friendly risks involved in trading the financial markets. Like I always say, without that risk, there is no opportunity. So the two really do go hand in hand. We want you to be aware of the risks, however, they are there. And you can protect yourself fairly well against the risks by A, using risk capital, money you can afford to trade with, and also to calculate your trade size and trade risk on every trade you take. And if you need help with that, we're specialists in that area. I've written 2 books on that, and I'll show you those in just a moment. But if you need help in that area, I would recommend those books. Also, too, please check with your financial advisor or whoever manages your money before actually putting real money down on a trade that we recommend here, because we want to make sure all our trades are suitable for you. So please check with them. They know your personal situation. I do not. So get the final go-ahead from them. All right, and also too, now finally, past performance does not guarantee future performance, and we deal in a realm of probability. So not every trade does what we want it to do, right? So you have to protect yourself with risk control. All right, so the two books I was alluding to here are a Money Management for Traders book and a Trader's Money Management System on this list of books here that I've written. Both those books were published, well, the Money Management for Traders was published last year, and then Wiley published the Trader's Money Management System years before that. But those both are excellent books on money management. I actually recommend both of them. And then we have Elliott Wave Technique Simplified, published by McGraw-Hill, wrote that several years ago as well. Excellent book on a form of technical analysis called the Elliott Wave. And basically with Elliott Wave, you know, it designates wave counts to movements or trends and profit taking in the market. Survival Guide for Traders, great book on how to run your trading business like a professional hedge fund right out of your home or home office. And then the Art of Trading second edition on the far right is coming out in 2024. I'm putting the final touches on that. I think that's going to be the best book I have ever written. It is being published by Wiley, and I've been adding a lot to it. We were originally going to come out with that in 2023, but I decided to add a few more chapters and a bit more information in that to really round it out. So that'll be coming out in 2024. You can pre-order that as well. All right, and finally, we're going to be working with the software that we use called the Applied Reality Trading System. It consists of charting software. You'll see me use this today, and I'll kind of explain it a little bit as I go along. But if you want a deeper dive into it and even purchase it for you at home there, you can do that on our website. And as you see on the banner running below, we have a website dedicated to this software called www.appliedrealitytrading.com. All right, we also have scanners. That's how we find our stocks each weekend and get ready to go. You can also use those scanners on intraday time frame for day trading. And then we have risk control software as well. All right, and then finally, give us a like, subscribe, and share this event here with as many people as you can, because the more people we get here, the more stocks we can look up, and of course, the more opportunities. And that's the whole purpose behind Stock Analysis Friday, is really for us to find great stocks that you can start trading as soon as we end the webinar today. And we're going to be looking at quite a few of them. And all these, if everybody brings a few stocks to look at, we're usually here for about an hour. Sometimes we go a little over, like an hour and 15, 20 minutes, but I try to cover them all. And when we do that, we usually walk away with a handful of good quality trades. Again, run those by your financial advisor just to be sure they're suitable for you. So give us a like, subscribe, and more importantly, share that with everybody. All right, let me come out of here. I do want to just quickly run over what you're looking at here, for example. We use our software installed into a charting platform called NinjaTrader. And NinjaTrader has been around for quite some time, and we've been installed on their platform for a very long time. And almost since they really came to market, we were one of the first companies to actually program our software for their platform. And this was back in the days when we did all the trade shows in New York, intershow trades and trade shows, and also in Vegas and around the country. I also did the trading challenge at those shows as well, many times back using the NinjaTrader platform. So all good times. All right, so what you're looking at here, you're looking at our software on 3 charts. So I use a form of analysis called multiple time frame analysis. And on the left-hand side, you'll see a chart here. And we'll go over the symbol in a minute, but I just kind of want to cover the layout here. This is what we call a 60-minute chart. And this represents a short outlook or short-term look at whatever we're looking at in terms of a stock, a futures, or whatever. And basically, each price bar represents 60 minutes or an hour. So it's considered an intraday time frame. In the middle, we have a daily chart, and this kind of gives us our intermediate look at the symbol we're analyzing, because every price bar represents a full day of activity. So this is considered probably the standard chart that most people look at when they go to a website or something of that nature. And then on the far right, we have the weekly chart, where every price bar represents a full week of trading activity. And that is considered a longer term chart. So when you have a movement in the market, you're going to see it very detailed on the short-term chart on the left. And then you're going to see it come out. We're going to demagnify it, so to speak, when we go out to the daily chart. And then once again, when we go to the weekly chart. So we have a really nice mix of a long-term aspect, an intermediate aspect, and a short-term aspect. And then at the bottom, we have all our software installed. This is called the OWL, the Optimum Wave Locator. Measures momentum in the market. It also helps us count Elliott waves. And also we have the PTF indicator indicating more highs or low. Has a 75% accuracy rate, so we depend on this pretty standard on every trade. And then we have the trend line master automatically drawing trend lines and telling us what the trend is. And then the ERI ribbon here at the bottom, which is the emotional reader index, which is measuring fear and greed. So we have that operating too. Then on the chart itself, you see these triangular pyramids. All right, and that does not date back to Egypt. This is basically measuring high probability trend trading patterns. And we use those for entries and stop loss placement, trailing stops and things of that nature. And those pyramids are looking at price patterns in the market along with momentum. And again, if you want to learn more about that, we have extensive videos on our website that talk and teach you about how those work. All right, so now at the top, we have our scanners running. We're not going to be using those today because you're going to be giving me symbols, but this is exactly how we find stocks to trade each and every day and every week. So that's the layout. All right, so I see some symbols, I think, coming in today. If not, go ahead and type those in. And please type those in caps right now, okay? That helps me see them better. All right, let me just quickly go over GBTC before we dig into ones you want to look at here. GBTC is an ETF for Bitcoin. And as you know, we've been recommending Bitcoin right around the $9 mark, and we're now up to $34.85 currently. So it's had a great run, all right? It's almost a triple your money movement here. Well, it actually is. And what's going to happen with it now? Where are we going with this? Well, long term, we think it's going to get way above the $60 mark. So we think it's got another big movement up. However, all right, we also think basically am calculating a pullback here, which would be a normal profit-taking leg after we've had this big run up really since that started in September, late September. So it's due for a profit-taking pullback. And I think this is going to end up pulling back to around $29.90 to maybe $25.39 at some point. Is it doing it now? It certainly possibly may have begun that now. However, a lot of times we see one more type of movement to the upside, kind of like a hook, before we actually see a sell-off. So we may get that hook before it actually pulls back. So if you're long-term, don't have your stop so close. Have it around somewhere around the $25 mark, which is pretty far away. However, if you're trading this trend up, you can use our pyramids and have it right here. And if you get stopped out, you can always go back in after the pullback is completed. So that is something we do quite often using our software. So I am bullish on CBTC. I'm not going to recommend it today because I think I'm going to wait now until after we get this profit-taking pullback at some point. But after that, we'll put it on the recommend list again. Okay, I know many of you are in that and kind of wanted an update on that. All right, so let's take a look and see what we got cooking out here. All right, Ray wants to look at Coinbase. Oh, that's an excellent one too. So that's a crypto as well. All right, and almost looks very similar to GBTC. And you can see the big run up in this as well. Now, what's interesting about this one here, if we look at our indicators at the bottom, and let's start with the OWL here, this is still really strong. Okay, it's a wave 3. It's a big impulsive wave in the Elliott wave sequence. And so, a lot of strength in that. And on the long-term charts, you got a lot of strength, but you also have the green PTF. Do you see that right here? This is the PTF. And it's green on the 1 minute time, the daily time frame and the weekly time frame. So there are more highs coming. Now, are we getting a slight pullback? We might be as well here, okay? We're starting to see some little bit of movement down. It's not enough to say that we're going to enter into a major profit-taking area now, but it is something to take note of. Now, for a position trade, our stop is sitting way down here, quite below, because our first entry would have been way back in here. So we've got our stop was trailed up under this pyramid. So we've got a nice profit in that. And the pyramid is giving you enough, movement, allows enough movement in this not to get stopped out. So it's positioned really nicely to allow for a little pullback and yet still keep you in the trend. If you're trading the very short time frame, that stop is going to be a little bit closer, around 160, and it will take you out if it is a profit-taking pullback, but then you can get back in. So my forecast on this is more highs. I kind of am going to wait for the pullback to recommend this one as well, but this is on a tear, and I think more highs are coming on Bitcoin big time. And again, I think your chances of getting above the 450 level on this, believe it or not, are quite good. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but probably by the latter part of 2024 going into 2025. So that's coin. All right. Anybody else out there on the, let's take a look at Riot real quick. And that is Blocktrain, another one moving up. But you can see there's some profit taking coming in. You see this price bar coming down. So basically the same forecast here on this. I do believe we're going to get above the $80 mark on this as well. We have a green PTF on the long-term time frame indicating that. But I think it's going to pull back. So I think I'm not going to put any of the cryptos on the direct buy list for today because of the pullback I'm anticipating. But after the pullback, it's going back on. All right, so let's head now over. Stu wants to take a look at TLT. All right, TLT is the ETF for the bond market. And this has been moving up quite steadily. All right, now, we've seen this before. We had a movement up on TLT here, back in this area here. So we had that move up here. That was pretty much at the end of 2022, going into actually almost all the way into the summer before it moved back down. So we didn't go into it then either. And the reason for that was we had a red PTF here. And that PTF with a 75% accuracy rate was saying that this movement up would be followed by more selling and would take out the bottom of that low. So when you have a red PTF, you just find the lowest price bar in the PTF area, and it's indicating with a 75% probability that you're going to take out that low. And that's exactly what happened. All right. And so when it turns yellow, that's neutral. And that means that there is no indication of more lows at that time. You can get them, but the PTF is not indicating that. All right, so that's kind of where we're at now on that move. Now, we had a move down, now we're having a move up. There's no PTF here, but there is here, and this concerns me. So any movement to the upside here, Stuart, is going to be considered profit taking and covering from the downtrend that it has been into for so long since 2022 high. So my target for this is 106 to 121 before more selling comes in. Now, if this PTF turns green, then we may have a major bottom in here. But as long as it remains red, this movement up is a profit-taking move to the upside and basically just a counter trend movement at this point. So keep that in mind. We do have a green PTF here on the 60-minute chart on the far left, and that's to be expected because we expect the market to move up into the target zone on the weekly chart, which is 106, so a little bit more movement up. I'm not going to recommend this because we're getting kind of close to the target now on the weekly chart, and it's not a buy and hold at this time. All right, so that's TLT. Let's take a look at INTU. This was one we recommended way back, and it is still moving up. Now, again, we're starting to see a little bit of bearish divergence here on the short-term chart, which means we could come down into a correction here, a little bit of a profit-taking move here, but we have a strong both owl on the daily and on the weekly. So I don't think I would exit this. I'd try to put my stop if you could here. If you're trading short-term, yes, you would want to get out now. okay, because it took out the pyramid here on the short-term chart. Hopefully you can see that at home. Long-term, we should get above 750 on this. So any pullback is temporary in nature. I call that profit-taking pullback, and then we should see more highs after that. So if you're in it for the long term, you can certainly stay in it. Don't have your stop too close. If you're position trading this or trading this much short term, then you want to have your stop a little bit closer and get out probably before the profit taking gets any deeper. All right, so that is INTU. All right, Stu's got one at DWAC. Let's take a look at this bad boy. We've looked at this one many times before. All right, so DWAC. Now, this is one here that we have recommended, and we want you to keep your stop still very low. Try to keep it right under this area here. And the reason for that, it's still kind of in a basing pattern. What we liked about this is it breached here, all right? So that was a good sign for a long trade. We've got green PTF here, green owl, green. So momentum on all time frames is going well. Now we have a yellow PTF on the weekly chart, but that doesn't concern me because that's neutral, all right? Markets can still trend even on a yellow. It's just at that particular point indicating a neutral reading. So I'm liking this, and I am going to recommend this one as one for you can take today or right away. Now, with that said, all right, please keep your stop as low as you possibly can on this. So I'm thinking maybe the best place for your stop would be around $13.76. All right. If that is too far away for you, then your next possible place would be $14.39, right under this low here. You got to give this a little bit of wiggle room as it bases and starts to move out. But this is going to be a nice trade. And I think a short-term target is going to be right above the PTF high here of $25.86. And then if it still has some movement, it could go even much higher than that. So that is one we'll put on the buy list. All right. Excellent, Stuart. Thank you. All right, Jim, how are you this morning? All right, IWM. Let's take a look at IWM ETF. And we've looked at this before, and this is moving nicely and has been for quite some time. Notice on the weekly chart, we had this kind of bouncing around. You can see it really well here, and you can see it on the daily chart. All right, but look what happened. Now we've taken out the top of that upper channel. Okay, so we were kind of waiting for that, right? So we like that. Now you got a couple choices here. This is going to be probably a very nice movement up off its bottom. And my target on this, Jim, is 292 roughly to 374. And you can see that target as a fib extension on the weekly chart. So 3 of some type, minor 4, probably major, or major 4, and then 5 up there at this particular point. Actually, probably a little bit of a minor. But so we're still completing the impulsive wave to the upside, whether it's a 3 or a 5. All right, so on this case here, you've got to anticipate also some profit taking coming in. So you got a couple choices here. All right, do you wait for the profit taking and then get in? Or do you go in now and not worry about the profit taking, but have your stop pretty low? And that's going to be a decision that's up to you depending on how you want to trade this. If you're going to go in now, please have your stop under 178. So use this pyramid right here. Okay. I kind of at this particular point, I'm looking at this and we got bearish divergence. So we have a pretty mature trend. So you may get a little bit of a pullback. We took out that resistance. We got another top here. So you may see a little bit of a pullback at some point. But again, any pullback here is going to be temporary, but you certainly might get a better price on that. So I think what I'm going to do on this one, all right, if you're long-term, you can take this and put your stop below 178. If you're short-term, using the daily charts, wait for the pullback. So I'm going to keep it off the buy list for right now, simply because I think I'd rather wait for a pullback at this point. You don't want to be chasing markets too much. All right, let's take a look at USO. Now, USO has definitely not really has pulled back up again after its current move down. So we've got a bottom. I want your eyes to go here to the weekly chart right now, and where you can kind of see, that's the far right chart. We have a bottom here. All right, and this we think is a bottom for oil. And USO is, of course, the ETF for crude. Okay, so we'll see if that holds. So we can't recommend it now because we have a movement still down. But if this bottom does hold and we get a turnaround, then of course I'm going to recommend it. If you're long, all right, and you've made this a trade, long-term trade, you're still in it because your stop, of course, will be at the bottom. So it depends on how you're trading this. If you traded this using the daily chart, then, and you didn't want to be around for the profit-taking movement, then you'd be out. Okay, so it all depends on that. I'm not going to recommend this now. We still are moving down, and you can see that on this chart here. We still got red here. This is close, but still red. So a little bit more movement to the downside. I don't think at this particular point we've got a bottom in yet. Well, we might have a bottom in here too, but we're going down a little bit lower. So it's not coming. It hasn't bottomed yet on this current move down. So hold off on that. Okay. All right, and then UNG, of course, is the ETF for natural gas. And this one here, all right, I did like this for a long trade earlier as it broke out of this channel. But again, that was stopped out. Okay, so, not all trades work, okay, but you got to get out when the stop gets hit. So that is out, and right now we got still a red PTF. So we on the daily chart there, here it is right here. So that's indicating here one more low coming. So we don't want to go long on that yet. So I think short term, probably going to get up to $5.37. We're at 5.14 now, maybe almost close to 6, but then we should see more selling coming back in. So as much as I'd love to be in natural gas, because when this baby turns around, it's going to be awesome, but the timing is not quite right for that. And at this particular point, if you were long, you would have been stopped out and not back in yet. Okay, so that's UNG. All right, Jim, thank you. Excellent. All right, let's keep going here. Let's see what else we got. All right. I think I missed this one too, LEN here. Let's go back to this one, Jim, for you. All right, so LEN, all right. As you can see, I mean, most of the stocks, thanks to the Santa Claus rally or whatever you want to call it, have really skyrocketed in the last really 3 weeks, right? So, it's up. They're up so much right now. You got to be careful not to chase a market. Even though there are more highs, you'll have a situation where you have some profit taking. So if you're trying to get into a trade, sometimes you're better off waiting until that profit taking movement comes and then get in at a better price. What the market does such a great job of is enticing you to get in now, right? It's very good at that. But I would probably at this point here, the tools are saying more highs are coming, all right, but we've had a big run up here, and we're starting to, we do not have bearish divergence really yet, because all the peaks have occurred on the last high. So the next thing I want to do is, where is this baby going? Okay, where is LEN going? Let's open up this chart and see if we, had enough of a retracement. So let's do that off this move up, and we have, right? So that's a good sign. And this did go red for a little while, and now we're back to another wave 3. So there you have that. If we go up here, okay, eventually we'll get a retracement again back into that area. However, let's see where the target is on this move up. Okay, and we're in it. So I'm not going to recommend it. So the current target level has been reached. Now, that doesn't mean we can't go a little higher. We're at 148. The top of the target is 165. The problem is that the only indication I see that is giving me clarity on how much higher it's going to go is the PTF. So the PTF is green here. So this high here, should be broken before we sell off. That's what that's saying. And you got the same thing here on the short term, and now you got it on the long term. So if that's enough of a profit for you, you could certainly go into that. And that high is 156, and we're sitting at 148. Then you got to decide where to put your stop on this. And the closest stop you should be using as a possible one would be about 146. So you got a 2-point differential there, and you've got a high of 149. Not worth it. You don't have the 2-to-1 risk to reward in your favor. So I would pass on that. If you're in it, stay in, okay, until the PTF goes yellow. All right, Jim, good. All right, let's see what else we got here. Alexander, hello, Alexander. All right, let's take a look here. He's watching a couple, and he's long quite a few. So let's take a look at NTAP. That's your first one there. Let's see how you're doing on that one. Okay, so you're long on this one. You've had a gap. All right, now the weekly chart is, let's just open that up because it's kind of a little bit messy here. All right, so that's not that great, but we do have clarity in the terms of the PTF. So the PTF is calling for more highs above 91.78, and we're at 87. Looks like we're having a little downdraft possibly underway. So I think maybe at this particular point, we have a bearish pyramid indicating probably the gap will fill. So I don't know where you got into this, or I guess you're watching this one. I don't think I would go into this yet. Okay, let's see how far this leg comes down and look at it next week. All right, and see if we fill that gap. We've got red over here. We got a pyramid here. We got a pyramid here. Nothing, no bullish pyramid yet there. So let's let this come down. I'm not going to recommend this one, and I would stay out of this one until those things turn around. All right, let's take a look at your next one, which is HSY. All right, so this one, it looks like you're trying to get in early. It's not quite ready yet. All right, we still have an active pyramid here to the downside, and I'm not going to go long until that is taken out. But what a short trade this would have been. Your first qualified entry probably would have been around 255, and it went all the way down to 186 where your stop would be. Well, your stop would be about 190. So there you have it. All right, that would be a tremendous trade. And when you go short here, this is how you trail your stops using the pyramid trading points. They're great. Okay, and then we would have it here and here. If you were using a moving average, so you'd still be short this trade. If you were using a moving average, depending on which one, you may have been stopped out on this run here, okay? This is why I love to use the pyramids, because it keeps you in the trend as long as possible. All right, so no buy on that one. Don't do that one yet, okay? Now, let's take a look at the ones you're in. CELH, I think, right? Okay, so let's take a look at that one. Oh boy, I'm liking that. Okay, so we got a nice movement up. Okay. Couple things here. We got a red owl now here. That's kind of interesting. And we have a little bit of green here. So looks to me, let me just take a look at this analysis here once again. So if this was A, B, C, C is just almost as long as the A wave. And it needs to be. So that's kind of splitting hairs out. I always like to see C wave a little bit longer than A wave. So what do we got cooking here? Boy, look at the 60-minute chart too. So kind of bouncing along the bottom. Okay, so this is kind of interesting, all right? I would say normally a long trade would be okay. You got to cut the trade size in half because of the red owl over here. We certainly could make one more high. There's also a possibility that C wave may go down a little bit deeper. So nothing is ever 100%. We've got a breakout here with this. So I actually would recommend this one, okay? I think the short-term chart looks pretty darn bullish, so we should continue to the upside. And that's actually good because I think we'll continue to move into this gap down area that we see on this chart here, okay? So I would recommend this to the long side at this point. All right, so that's okay. All right, so that's one. All right, so stay long on it, okay? But have your stop, all right? I don't know when you went into it, but have your stop right at the pullback bottom there. All right, so that is one. Let's take a look at NIO. EO from the matrix, right? NIO. All right, so this one we've looked at too as well, all right? And it has pulled off its bottom. There's no longer a short trade on the weekly chart. You can see the pyramid has been exceeded. The flat part of the pyramid called the base leg has been exceeded, so that's good. So we're kind of moving up off its bottom. We got green here. Target is about 16 bucks, which is a little bit above the high, maybe a little higher than that. You're at 9. Your stop needs to be at 7, so there's your $2 there, and you've got plenty of room for the target. So NIO is a go, okay? I'm going to recommend this one. Even though the owl is red over here, all right, if you want an early entry, this is not a bad place to go because of the following reasons, and that is you got the pyramid here that has formed, giving you the green light, all right? You got green, green, we've got green, yellow is okay. You may get a pullback here, but this stop down here is where you want to place it, right around the $7 mark. So I think that's a go, okay? And that is NIO. Now, if you want to wait for a pullback, you can do that, but I think you're good to go right now. All right, so that is one. That's a winner there. All right, MARA. This one we've looked at as well before. All right, so let's see what we got here. All right, big move up. Unfortunately, here on this one, you're still going up. But if you were to get in today, you're going to be chasing this market, okay? But if you're long, which you are, you should be pretty happy right about here. Now, a couple ways to play this. We're getting close to a temporary target here on this chart here. However, okay, we may go through that target. That was just a conservative retracement area on the weekly chart. You have green PTFs on all 3 time frames. More highs are coming. Now, you've had a big run up, so it's not unusual at this point for you to get a profit taking. We're starting to see that now on the 60-minute chart. So how big is that profit taking going to go? Let's take a quick look on this chart and see if we can kind of quantify where that could possibly go here. So we've got one building in here. That's 1, 2. So let's draw that. I think we're almost probably in that area now, pretty close. All right, we've got the red PTF. So we're kind of in that target zone there. If you were trading the 60-minute, you would have been stopped out on that pyramid, but you can get back in. We may have a little bit more movement to the downside. All right, so I'm not going to really recommend this at this point. I'd like to see some bullish price bars come back into this. And all the PTFs are indicating highs just above the $30 level. So it's not like that big of a movement expected. And that would put you back into a possible retracement target zone on the 5 minutes. So I'm not going to recommend this. If you're in it, which you are, all right, you have to be okay and suffer a little bit more of a pullback if you want to reach the next high. If that's not comfortable for you and you're sitting on a lot of profit already on this, you may want to scale out or exit and then maybe get back in at some point. Okay, so that's kind of how I would play that. All right, and let's see about your next one. UNG we looked at already. That was, and gold we have not looked at. So let's take a look at gold. UNG is not a buy right now. That's the one with the red PTF, expecting more lows. All right. So on gold here, you know, we were bullish on gold. We're starting to get into a lofty area here. Let's go over and open up this weekly chart. And back in 2011, which is right here, we had a wave 3 high. Then we had a multi-year ABC wave 4 correction. And now wave 5 is unfolding. So wave 5, the characteristics of a wave 5 is it takes out the high of wave 3, but on a lot less volume and momentum. So it's not as enthusiastic or direct as a wave 3. And you can see that looking at this chart. Let me just erase this for a minute. And you can see how direct this big move up. And if we had more history on here, it would come all the way from back here. And then we had the correction. And now look how sloppy wave 5 is, but it took out the high, right? So that's kind of the characteristic of a wave 5. And notice that the owl here is larger than any of the owls over here. Another characteristic of wave 5. All right, so if the owls ever got bigger on this current move, then that means that the wave count would have to be readjusted and we'd be in a current wave 3 instead of a wave 5. We've got a green PTF still, so we're not done coming up here. Okay, we're still coming up, but that could change very soon. Now we're in a target also for this. It looks like we're going to make another high, but we might get up to 220 to 240 or 260 at the most on this. But I think I'm not going to recommend this now because we're getting a little toppy on it. All right, so gold, if you're in it here, all right, I would say, you know, have your stop right at the pyramid on the daily chart for right now. And see if you can, that should be enough for one more high. And then when this turns yellow, start moving that stop up again. And if you get a new pyramid, ratchet it up. All right, so that's gold, AMAT. So I'm actually more bullish on the cryptos than I am on gold, because gold is pretty much reaching into its current target. All right, so all right, AMAT, applied materials. We've looked at this one before because I have the target set on the weekly chart, and we're entering that target now. So we're right there. If you're long on this one, I would use the pyramid for right now. We don't have any green PTFs. In fact, we got a red one forming here on the 60. So your stop needs to be on this pyramid. Okay, and that's AMAT. That's not one I'm going to recommend it as well. LRCX also in the target zone, and I see no green PTFs. I see the PTF on the 60 close to going red. So again, I would be a little bit skeptical on this one as well. And it looks to me like I would have my stop on this one right here at the pyramid on the 60-minute chart. Okay, and that leaves good old Microsoft. All right, so Microsoft, we have a green PTF on the long-term chart. So the long-term trend is not over to the upside yet. However, we have a red PTF on the 60-minute chart. So it looks like maybe we're getting ready to enter a stage of profit taking. And so this is calling for lows around the 362 area, which would be just under here probably. So I would expect a movement down here. Now, because we're not done yet, you're not going to get a big movement down. And I say that because of the green PTF here. And you still have a very strong owl there. This may go red. All right, so we may see a little bit of a movement down. Have your stop at this pyramid. This should keep you in. And that stop loss level, I've got my data window open on another monitor here, gives you a low of around, what, 324.39. So 324, I would do 38 for your stop on that. Okay, there you go. All right, Bill, how are you? All right. And you have a super year as well. Love comments like that. And Happy New Year to you as well. All right, so let's see what we got here. All right, let's see here. All right, Alexander has one more here. He's watching SPLK. Let's take a look at that one. All right, so on this movement here, let's open up that weekly chart and see, kind of get a handle on this. All right, so we don't have, in terms of stocks, looks like it goes back to about 2012. So that's not a ton of history on stocks, but certainly enough to kind of see what's going on here. So we had a big movement up here, and we had a retracement much lower than any normal profit taking because it almost went back to where it started, right? So what's it going to do now? All right, so now we've got a green PTF here, but that's not helping us much because that's only calling for highs above pretty much where prices are now. Remember, on the green PTFs, what you do is you locate the highest price in the green area. So that's going to be right about here, right? So there's not much additional movement left for this. All right, so that is a little concerning. Let me just drag these down a little bit. You can get a little bit more information. So if you went in on this pyramid here, okay, your stop would be here, but now it would be trailed up under here. So that's not giving me a good indication of really the PTF of a good target. But what could be happening on an Elliott wave count, if this is a large 1, then that means this could be a 2 and we could be on our way to 3. So this could be the beginning of a huge move to the upside. That's possible. All right, we've got a gap coming here. All right, so here's how I would play this. All right, let's wait for a pullback. Okay, we've had a big movement up. If we wait for a pullback, we'll get a better price. We won't be chasing the market. I'm feeling if I get in now, I'm chasing the market. And, you know, without as much history as I'd like to get a good gauge on this, the Elliott wave count may be a little weak on this. So I kind of need to make sure I'm not chasing a market and I have the indicators more in line. So I'm going to put a hold on this one, okay? But let's take a look at it again at some point. All right, let's keep going here. And let's see. All right, let's see. Boy, did I go through them all already? Awesome. Awesome. Okay. If you have any more, let me know. But it looks like I've covered them now. So a little bit of talk on the overall market. You know, the market has been on a tear, okay, and it has been pretty much since October. So my gut feeling on the market in general, this goes for the S&P, the NASDAQ, and the Dow. The Dow broke out on a new high. S&P is going to, I think it actually did, and then the NASDAQ is going to as well. So I'm thinking, you know, the market breaking out a new high changed the Elliott wave count. So we're probably going to have a fairly strong market for the first half at least of 2024. Now, with that said, we are also due for a profit-taking move down. So here's what I think is going to happen. Maybe January, we get the market selling off a little bit because of the big run-up. So I think we're going to get a move down into the markets to around 35,000, maybe 34, and then we should see more buying come back in. My concern is this. We are getting towards the end of wave 3 on the weekly chart. We're not quite there yet. I think we will top wave 3 on the weekly sometime in probably late 2024, maybe over the summer. After that, we're going to be then going into the major long-term correction, which we thought was already happening in 2023, but then the market made a new high, so that put the kibitz on that, and that ended up being a minor correction, not the major one. So unfortunately, it delayed the major one out another year. So I feel that the market eventually will go into a nasty major correction, probably taking out the COVID low, which was pretty down there. But that's not going to happen probably until maybe latter half. That won't begin until the latter half of probably 2024. Okay. So I think you got some more movement to the upside that you can do here in the first half, at least of 2024. We'll look at it again. You know, markets stall. Sometimes they take longer to do what we expect them to do. And then sometimes they don't do what we expect them to do at all, right? And that's why we have to have risk control. But in any case, that's my take on it. So big profit taking move coming up in January, all right, which means the market's going to come down. And then after that, it should recover. And then we'll see how many more highs it's going to make. But I have a target on that. So if you're interested on that, I just did a market review webinar that is on my YouTube page here. You might want to check that out. because that has more specifics and details on the target high that I'm expecting in 2024. But beware, because when the market does go into a long-term correction, it's going to be nasty. So enjoy the ride for a little bit longer, but it's out there. It's looming. It's not a matter of if, it's more a matter of when. All right, let's keep going. See if anything else came in here. All right, Art, good to have you here, Art. Art is taking a look. Let's take a look at STEM and see what's cooking on that. All right, give that a second to load. Okay, so we got history only back to about 2020, the end of 2020, and we've had a movement down, a bottoming effect here. So you're probably wondering if this is yet ready for a long trade. So if you're in it already, you want to keep that stop at the very bottom, because usually when we get a bounce off this bottom, all right, then we get a retest of the bottom. And so you got to be careful about that. So you can't have your stop really anywhere in here unless you're doing this as a short-term scalp based on, a 60-minute time frame. Otherwise, you want your stop below here. I'm not going to recommend this one yet, okay? We don't yet have a green pyramid. We have a little bit of red coming in, which indicating we may be starting this little leg down. So I think maybe we can get into this at a better price, possibly, in a week or two. We'll see. And I really like the setup, though. Okay, you did a great job finding this. It's just now, let's just time it a little better. So I want you to bring this back next week. Let's put this on the watch list and bring this one back, Art, next week, okay? All right, Alexander's back with a couple more Meta, Facebook. Let's take a look at Meta. All right, so Meta, pulled back a little profit taking. There's an example of profit taking and then a move back up. All right, the nice thing about this is look at this pyramid, all right? It kept you in that profit taking leg pretty well. So that was kind of nice. All right, so where are we at now? Well, on the long-term charts, you're still long because you have your stop there. Short-term charts, you would have been stopped out, okay? So I think it's a little late to get in here. This is chasing the market. Don't like to do that. Doesn't mean we can't get more highs, because we probably will. But either you're in it or you're not at this point. And so if you're thinking about getting in it, I would wait for a pullback and then let's see the target on that, okay? So let me just open up this weekly chart for just a memento here. And, here's where we looked at it before, and, it did go a little higher. Still hasn't taken out the top, okay? And this is a huge move. I mean, look at this. Entire 2023 has been a bullet to the upside. So eventually we're going to get a pullback here, and it's going to be quite sufficient. And I kind of would rather wait for the pullback to get back in it and ride the next move up, because we probably will reach quite a bit higher up here at some point. Probably, maybe the target's anywhere from 400 to 450. But I think we may get a pullback first. So we'll see on that. All right. So a little bit Russian roulette getting in here, so I'm not going to recommend that. NVIDIA, huge run up earlier. Let's take a look and see on this one. All right, again, it's very similar to Meta in terms of, you'd be chasing the market to get into it now. The trade was back in 2023, okay, right after it finished its correction. If you look here on the chart here, you could see you had a nice correction here, and then now a move up, and now you're still in wave 3, okay? But there's your profit taking. That's where you kind of want to get in. So if you got in, this is just a great example. If you got in here, all right, how would you feel if this happened? Not so good, right? Because that price level there, if you got in up here, 300 went down to between about 130, right? Not too good, right? That's a 50% loss. And so that's what happens if you chase markets. And now we're chasing it again, okay? And we're starting to see bearish divergence. So I'm not going to recommend this one. There's others. Try to find ones just beginning to move, not ones that have already taken off, okay? So excellent. All right, let's go, William, to you and take a look at BOTC. By the way, I recommend everyone, we're at the end of the year, right? So the market has skyrocketed in the last, really the entire fall. So a lot of you may be sitting on some profits. However, if you're sitting on some losers, you may want to sell those losers, sell your profits, and that way the losers may offset the taxes on the profits, especially if they're long-term capital gains, right? And then you can buy those stocks back if you want to be still in them. So the ones that you sold, not the losers, but maybe they're pulling back. I don't know. But basically those winning stocks, if you kind of are holding on to those long term, so you have long-term capital gains, but you may have some long-term capital losses, you can offset that and then buy them back later. But check with your accountant to see if that makes sense for you. I'm not an accountant, but that is a common practice here at the year end. And it's a nice way to possibly eliminate some taxes and yet at the same time readjust your cost basis on your long-term holdings so you didn't pay taxes because they were offset on the losses you took at the end of the year on other stocks. So talk to your accountant about that, but you got to do it today. All right, so let's take a look at BOTC. So here we got a situation where I'm trying to figure out what the target is. And we only go back to about, what is that, 2019 maybe? So not a lot of history, pretty messy weekly chart. Let's see if this chart helps us. Okay, again, this is kind of very similar to that other one we looked at where we may be in a big move up, but sure hard to tell. This is a nice move down here, almost a double bottom, not quite. So we may be moving back to the upside. My problem with this is target zone. I don't know. I'm having a hard time getting a good count on this for a target. Either this thing is going to take off and make new highs above 40, or this is a retracement and you're going to come back down and get stuck. It's going sideways. So I don't have a very clear analysis on this. And this is one of those where I have to scratch my head a couple times to figure it out. So I'm not. You got a little bearish divergence building there, so you're probably due for a pullback. I'm not going to recommend this one, okay? I think you can find better ones, okay? For example, I think DWAC is a better one. CELH and NIO are much better than this. All right, PLTR. Let's take a look at this one for you, Bill. All right, so again, not much history on this. And the PTF that we're getting some form of help on here is on the 60-minute chart. And so that is indicating a high above this high recently. Your stop would have to go, I would put it down here, and you're almost, and you got red here. So no go on this. If this makes another low and turns around, then you could use that maybe as your stop and you'd have a nice 2-to-1. If it turned around now, you'd still have a nice 2-to-1, even if you put your stop down here or under here. So let's look at this next week. The PTF that's red has got to go away on the 60-minute chart before I'd even consider a short-term trade on this. And this would be short-term. This would be like a 2-week trade. This is not something I'd want to get involved in any longer than that. All right, let's take a look at IBDW. All right, so pulling off the bottom significantly, and unfortunately, I'm going to be on the sidelines for this. This is still red. All right, if this turns green, that changes the ball game. But at this particular point, it looks like maybe an A, long B, B, C. So let's wait and see what happens with that PTF. Short-term target on this to the upside, it's still going up, okay, is probably somewhere around here. So we're kind of between $21.25 up to $22.80. So we kind of hit that target. It looks like we're going to go back up into it because we still have green PTFs indicating we should get above around 21.30 or something on that. So it's going back up, but I'm not going to initiate a trade on this because I think maybe when we hit that target zone, according to the PTF on the weekly, this is just profit taking and we're going to head back down. So shorts covering and then more shorts coming back in looks like is going to happen. In other words, that bottom is not in on this yet. All right. PTF changes green. I'll change my tune on this. All right. So that is that one. And then let's take a look at KGC. All right. KGC, we looked at this before. And notice we've got a situation here. Same similar thing on this one. Red PTF. Now we're turning red here. So it looks like it may be heading back down. And notice this one here. This is a great example. Notice we had the green PTF here. And look, it went higher. Okay. So it went into the target zone a little bit. So the only trade you would have had, a week or so ago or whenever this turn would have been in this here, but there's not enough profit to make it worth it. And now you're in the target and now things are turning bearish. And this is what I think is going to happen to your other stock. It's going to head back down as well. So for right now, this is still indicating the bottom's not in. So I'm not going to recommend that one as well, but things can change. Okay. So if things change, we'll take a look. Thank you for bringing those. Those are excellent. All right. Any others? Going once, going twice. It's unbelievable. I can't believe we've been here an hour already. Time flies and we're having fun, right? So interesting, we found 3, but it's kind of interesting because a couple of weeks ago when the bull market was still tearing, we found like 5 or 6, right? Maybe even 10. So this is kind of an indication that things may be slowing down, right? So the fact that we only found 3 here is kind of also an indication that we may be getting ready to go into that market profit-taking leg in January. Okay. All right. Gene's saying, give us a like before we go. All right. So I think that's it for today. All right. I think we covered all those. And again, the winners today is DWAC. We've got CELH and NIO, and we put STEM on the watch list. Okay. On the watch list. All right. Let me go over to some of the intraday charts. And I'll put the music on. We run a day trading room, as you know. And during this day trading room, we trade in the same fashion. The only difference is the time frames on the charts are really short. So this is a 15-second chart over here. This is a 1-minute chart here. And this is a 5-minute chart here. So we trade the intraday trends and scalp the intraday movements when we can. And sometimes even on these time frames, we have to wait quite a while for things to line up to give us a good trade. So it's not as fast as you think. For example, look at the 15-second chart. What a beautiful trade that could have been initiated there for a slight intraday movement down. You can see that represented here as well. All right. So we look, this happens to be crude oil. This is the micro. But also, too, we look at the E-mini, MES. And this is another market we look at. And again, big movement down here. And it's not over yet. The red PTF on the 5-minute chart saying intraday, this intraday movement is not done to the downside. We also trade the Henry Hub natural gas futures. This is a fun one to trade. And we trade the mini Dow futures, also heading down. And we trade the MNQ, which is the NASDAQ. Nice short trade there, right? And then we trade M2K, all right, which is the Russell. Beautiful. Look at the pyramids, caught that nicely on the way down. And we're going into a profit-taking range here. Okay, so if we draw some fib retracements here, I would expect this move to move into this area here. Okay, and we still have a red PTF there. So basically, you probably want to take profits on this and then try to get back in when we get into this area here. Okay, but for right now, more lows coming on this. So I'll leave this here for now and put a little music on, and then we'll close the room in a few minutes. But listen, have a wonderful new year. Happy New Year to everybody. Have a great and safe time. Enjoy yourself, and we'll hit it again next week in 2024. Just so you know, We have a coaching. I do have a couple coaching slots open if you're interested in private one-on-one coaching. I do a lot of that. I've been doing it now for, let's say 23, it'll be 24, 26 years. I've been coaching students around the world, from Australia, United Kingdom, the Middle East, and of course here in the United States and Canada too, of course. So we've been at this a long time. I've been able to help a lot of people, not only with their psychology, but with implementing trading rules with risk control. So if you need help with any of that, if you find yourself emotionally getting out of trades too soon and so forth, coaching could help you. All right. So definitely sign up for that. And, you know, you can give Jeannie a call in our office and she can go over the different plans. She'll kind of talk to you and assess what you need. All right. So other than that, Happy New Year, everybody. Have a great one. We'll see you back here. I always love to say this at this time of year. I'll see you next year, right? All right. Have a good one. Thanks so much. And again, as Gene says, give us a like before you go. Have a great one.